Welcome everyone to February Power Hour. We're excited to have all of you that join us live. It does make it fun and entertaining to see your faces and your comments in the chat. I am Tessa, living outside Indianapolis, Indiana, joined by Megan out in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. So she is having a grand time with her weather while most of the rest of us are over winter. I cannot wait for winter to get behind us. But tonight, in the midst of our winter blues, we're going to create two scrapbooking layouts. We're going to start with mine and then move on to Megan's. See if I can, my camera will cooperate. See how, okay, there we go. So this layout was one that I had played with for a little while. I had it kind of to the side. I thought, you know what, this would make a good power hour. It's pretty basic, but it has, I think, some cute visual impact. We're going to use a base paper. For this one, I used a berry punch shimmer. And then you'll need a top piece, but you need to like both sides of it. So it's more important that you choose the top paper first. Make sure you like the contrast of the sides, and then choose the paper that you want on the bottom. I went through the whole pack and trying to decide what to have on the bottom of it. In the end, I decided to go with the shimmer piece of cardstock based on the embellishment. So sometimes your base color might not really be out of the pack. It could be something else to coordinate. It's a pretty easy technique that we're going to do when we're going to cut our paper down, and we're going to fold it, cut it, score it. And then we have a space here to make a little bit of a design interest on our page. So we're going to talk about some of those options first, and then at the end, we'll work on cutting them. So you could leave this space open. We can put in some embellishments here. You can layer in as much as you want. You could do as little as you want. But when you do choose your paper, especially your base paper, you want to have an idea of what you want to put in your little fold, because you will want to choose something that contrasts with it, something that is an appropriate background to whatever you're going to embellish. You don't want to choose a busy paper because you're going to lose your embellishments on top of it. You don't want to choose a black paper if your embellishments have a lot of black in them. You want to kind of choose something with contrast. And then with some of the options as we go are cutting part of an oval, or maybe a jumbo circle, or something if you want to add in another color dimension, another color layer, gives us some options there. So this was my painted garden demo. So for tonight, I don't have photos picked out, but I was disappointed because I wanted to use the Happy Together paper, but CM sold out of it, and I don't get it back in stock until tomorrow. But I do have the embellishments, and so I was like, well, I could use the embellishments and then dig through my stash to see what kind of paper I have that I could pull from. I did think that black would be a good base against the pink or the red or whatever paper I decided to choose, because it would go with the embellishments. So I went through my stash and I found a piece of paper from Totally Tonal Red and Orange. We had these 5 packs of paper a couple of years ago. So I like this red side a lot, and the back side of it is kind of a gingham hash. It does have orange and red and not the pink, but I think it will coordinate fine. And so then I knew that this would contrast very nicely against the black. And then I would have some embellishment choices that would pop in against that. So to create the base paper, I'm going to have to do a lot of talking to fill a lot of time, because it doesn't actually take that much time. But you want your trimmer, you'll want a pencil, and then you can either use your scoring blade or you can use your ruler and a multi-purpose tool. This is the easier technique. I will show you both tonight. We do need to cut our paper down to an 11.5-inch square. So you're going to cut a 1/2 inch off each side. So this is a layout that you can use old paper with. That old Perfect Fit paper would work well because one side of it already is cut down to 11.5. I don't have a direction to this, but if you do have a direction, you want to make sure that it is okay folding on the diagonal. I'm going to cut this down to 11.5. It could be a shirt. I think it was Sachi or Noreen. Someone did a layout a while ago with a sweater design that had kind of something similar, and I think Saatchi might have had a shirt layout along the way. It is a little bit reminiscent of that. Someone commented in the chat. So I have my 11.5 inch square. I don't need my base paper. I could get that out of the way for now. And then you want to use a ruler or use your mat or whatever you would like to measure with. We need to mark this halfway. So I'm going to use the ruler here on my 13-inch mat. So I'm going to push my paper up here into the corner, so I know that the ruler is accurate against the paper. And I want to mark it at the halfway point, but I want to do that on the back of it. You want it to be on the back of where you want it to fold. Now, my design doesn't matter. It could sit any way I want on the page. But if yours does have a direction that you want to see specifically, and you're going to fold or cut on whichever side, then you want to make sure that you are marking on the back of that, which the easiest way to do would be to flip it upside down to stay on that side. Half of 11.5 is 5 3/4. So you can check your ruler down here. It's going to be 5 3/4. And then I want to mark that in about 2.5 inches. So you can use your chi ruler or a regular ruler. I better use a chi ruler since I can't really stand up against my page. It's easier if you stand up if you're measuring. And I want to go about 2.5 inches. You can adjust this fold. So if you want to make it a smaller opening or a larger flap, just however much along here you want to cut, will give you that width. I chose 2.5 because it did give me some space to design, but it didn't take up the whole page. I'm going to mark with a pencil 2.5 inches. Then I'm going to put this in my trimmer, and I want to cut along this pencil line. It might be easier if you turn your trimmer where you can see where it has the white line along here. You can line that up with the end of your pencil mark. I'm just going to give that a straight cut. Then I'm going to show you both ways that you can use to score this. We have the scoring blade option. You can just barely get it in here enough to score. So to score it, I want this bottom corner down here on your trimmer, and I want the middle of it along the line. And that I found that I could just fit the paper in here. I think I'm pretty zoomed in. You can see it just barely allows my paper to sit in the trimmer. And then I could bring this in here and score along that line. Or you can just do it with a ruler if it's easier for you. So we're going to do the tip here down to the corner. You can come up from the corner a little bit also, just as long as you're consistent. I'm just going to give that a nice score down the line. We can turn it around and do the same thing. Then I can fold it, except I'm going to flip it back over and fold it. So I scored it kind of the opposite. You could score on the front if you want also. But I find that it bends back just as easily. Then if you're ready, you can just use a little bit of adhesive to fold that back. I didn't adhere all of this down because it does come up a little bit, but it adds a little bit of layering texture, but you can add tape along the whole thing if you want it to lay completely flat. If you did do this in the trimmer, what I found is a little bit harder in the trimmer is to really get all the way to the corners. Needing it's a little bit more control with the multi-purpose tool. Then you can adhere it to your base paper. Get that out of the way. And it's going to be about 1/4 inch from each edge. You can use repo tape. Center on there. And then at this point, you can decide if you want to add a layer of paper here. I went through all my paper. I was kind of interested in pulling in a little bit of pink. I've got Shell Shimmer out because it has a pinky tone to me, but it did not look pink against these embellishments. It looks a little bit more beigey, orangey, yellowish than pink. I looked at Ivory Shimmer. So a little bit what a little bit of color to it, and then the white. And I actually did like the white the best, which ironically is what I used for the demo. Those of you who've been watching me for, you know that white shimmer kind of is my fun color. So I'll show you how to cut these pieces if you want to have an extra layer or something in here. I liked the side of the jumbo scallop circle. I feel like I don't use that template very much. Added another little element of design. And then I could layer on embellishments, tuck them in, kind of go through here and pick. I should have pulled one out, but this is the kind of thing that's fun to have the little snap bin that they have that launched as advisor gifts this week. A lot of us have had them though, the snap bins that pinches each side together. Usually I keep one of my scrapping stuff that I take with you, but when you want to dump out all your embellishments and look through them, that's what the snap bins are helpful for, kind of pick through. Let's see what works. I don't know if that's gonna be lovebirds. I don't know if it's gonna be true love. I can't get too romantic here because this is probably gonna be pictures of my kids and me. You and me are pretty or cute. Cute's always a safe one to use with your kids. I could probably get away with Be Mine since it was Valentine's Day. Just kind of play with your tucking or whatever you want to do to tuck in there. Or you can leave them all out. You can just focus on one embellishment kind of poking out. We keep it simpler. And then if your set comes with jewels or anything, a lot of times I don't know where to use the jewels. This one comes with epoxy hearts. You could stick them on the corners where it folds and connects to your page, or you could sit something just right here in the middle if you wanted to keep it really simple. And then this would be a good spot too that you could journal. So if you are using a lined paper or just a cardstock that you could journal with and you want to keep your embellishment pretty simple right here, you could have your journaling space come out of there, or you could use the write-on strips and pull your journaling out from there also. So I'll show you how I cut my pieces here. So the oval and the jumbo circle, scallop circle. You could use a regular jumbo circle also. There are a lot of options, and I just didn't want to give you a layout that was done so quickly. You didn't have any decision point. The layout part's really easy. This is the part that you can kind of spend a lot of time on. So for, to cut out this section, you do not need to cut your entire circle around again. We just need a section of it, right? So you can just bring it over and cut off the edge, move your paper over. However much you want to have. Just be a little generous, cut a little bit more than you think you want to have so that you have some option for tucking. Sure, mine's. Yeah, I gotta clean that up a little bit. Why I usually stand up too, I always mess it up, but I can tuck that in there. This, I think I just pulled out even a different shade of white shimmer because this is thicker. This is probably one of our original white shimmers because the one I did have was light. And then same thing for the oval. You just want an edge of it. So you can just cut. And that's a good way to use up scraps too, just to get a piece of something that you want to tuck in. So here's a difference in, you can see that one's thicker, so that must have been from a few years ago. And then this one is our thinner current white shimmers. So that is the hardest thing I can come up with for tonight. Folding probably is the hardest part after choosing your paper. And then you can get caught up and spend all your time figuring out how to pull your stuff out of there. You can also find your punches. A cute one, if you're using Valentine's, is the Full of Love punch. Especially since it's going to give you all the little hearts. You could have them travel up the page. I will be lucky to have two pictures, one or two pictures. So this layout will be perfect for it. As far as getting your photos on here, you might be thinking, well, what do I do if I have more than two photos? And that's when I would suggest peekaboo pockets. So I did show two 4x6 mats on here. It's pretty typical, but these could both be for peekaboo pockets. But you do have plenty of space in here to fit in smaller photos if you want to. And you could overlap, of course, over here if you needed to, and get a 4x4 and more up here. If you wanted to create a 2-page layout, you could just do a mirror image. Or you could keep the other side, you could just keep not fold it and just fold one side or the other so that the other side of the layout, you could just do the 11.5-inch square, get a bunch of photos on there, and then keep this one on the right or the left so the accent's just on one side. That's what I would, it would depend on how many photos I have. This decoration is going to be a very good focal, so I don't think you have to recreate this for both pages. I would just use probably mostly photos on the other side, maybe decorate a little bit in the corner if you're doing that. If you have a little bit simpler technique here, one that you can replicate, then you could do mirror images on each side. So any questions or anything about that? I think I look forward to seeing what you guys do. And thank you in the comments. I do have Meyer near me. I'll have to see if they have cherry chip cake we're talking about for Valentine's Day. I can go get one. These cards with the picture size on them it's called the photo placement bundle. It is available from Creative Memories, so you can purchase that through your advisor. And let me see where mine is right here. So it does come with this photo file. It looks like the camera. And so it holds all the different sizes. 4x6 obviously is the most common. There's 2x2, which I've never used. 3x3, A very common one is 3.5 inches, 4 by 4, 3.5 by 5.5 are in here too. So it is nice to keep that. And then if you are someone that needs reminded, I wouldn't glue these down completely, but you could use just a little dot of repo tape to remind you, and then pull them up and reuse them layout to layout. That's what I do. So they are kind of nice to remind you what size mats that you guys can have on your layout. So thank you all. Let's see, I can't even see the clock. What, 8:27. We didn't even start till like 8:06, so I'm doing good. Let's back up. Give you back over to Megan.
There we go. All right. So yes, welcome. I'm Megan Jacks out in, it's not sunny Phoenix right now. It is dark Phoenix right now, but it is warm. It's cooling off a little bit though. We're going to be windy and everything, but it's not nearly like a blizzard or anything like that. So I'm enjoying this time of year for sure. But I have a fun layout for you tonight. It's a single page, but I'm going to show you how to make it into a double page. You just you're going to find you're making these like square pieces that are really quite versatile, and you don't even have to make the full square. You might have leftovers, the leftover corner pieces that we get whenever we do the jumbo circle, or we get that residual piece there. So this is about how to use those, just another way that you can utilize those pieces. So I'm gonna switch over here to my overhead camera and we'll get started. Let me rotate this around. So that would be helpful if it wasn't upside down. There we go. All right, so I do have pictures of my OG cats. This is the original cat and the, Mr. Cat, and then the OG kitty. These were our Siamese cats that we had before we had children. They grew with us a little bit through having children, and then, they do what pets do, unfortunately. And so I had these black and white photos. It was a fun way to use this welcoming wood blocks with them. But really, what I wanted to show is this technique with the jumbo circle. So you will need to have a jumbo circle. You can probably do this with other, like the jumbo scallop. You could probably do it with that. But if you have the jumbo circle, I would start there. And if you might want to use a scrap piece of paper, like a piece of paper maybe that you're not in love with, to give this a try, especially if you're not super comfortable, or if you happen to be trying a different template than the jumbo circle. So I am going to be I'm going to make a lacrosse page. I don't have the photos printed, but we've started lacrosse season. So I'm going to be using the team colors for my layout. The team colors for Cody's new lacrosse team are the same as his old lacrosse team. We have kind of this mid-tone blue. They are the Cobras as compared to the Sea Wolves. We have this mid-tone blue. I have 2 sheets of the blue cardstock will be my base, because I'm going to expand this into 2 pages. And then my designer paper that we're going to use with the jumbo circle is going to be this stars paper. It is out. I'm pretty certain this is out of the black and white paper pack that is available. I think it's still available. And it just has stars on both sides, which to me works okay when you need something a little sporty. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. We will be cutting this piece. This is going to be my background. And then I don't really have another piece of designer paper, so I think I'm going to use this for mats. Pop in that lighter color blue that will match their jerseys. Okay, so we're going to get started by cutting our circle. So step number 1, we do want to cut the circle. We're going to be using the jumbo circle with the red blade on the outside track. You will want to make sure you line up your paper on your cutting mat, and you'll want to center your circle as best you can. I'm going to switch over to the lighter side so that I can see my marking dots on here. See that dot right there? There's manufacturing dots on the jumbo circle. You will want to use those dots to mark your the like 0, 90, 270, or 180 and 270. And getting this centered on here. stand up because normally it's, I don't want to stick my head in the middle of my camera. Take your time to get it centered because we are using the residual pieces. Normally, when you're sometimes cutting a circle, you don't care about centering. You just want to make sure you can cut your circle. But here we want to take the time to center so that we can have even corners from our cut. So use the red blade on the outside track. Remember when you're using your custom cutting system, the jumbo one, or and all of them do, they have those little silicone grippy things under them. They're on the reverse side. You can see like here, like that little piece. And that's where you're going to want to make sure you keep some pressure. It's going to help keep your template in place while you're making the cuts. Go all the way around. Before I release anything, I'm going to look for it to spin. That means everything is released. Go ahead and put the jumbo template to the side. And the next thing we need to do is we need to cut everything that we have here in quarters. I thought about trying to do it where you actually can tape chip everything into place and then cut it all. And if you know exactly what you want, if you want every single piece to look the exact same, you could do that. You could say, I like how this is going to look for these squares. You could flip this all over. You could put your tape chips in place and you could cut it at 6 inches and call it good. Now, if you want to be able to do what I did here, you're not going to be able to do that where I have alternating pieces. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give myself that flexibility. So I'm going to cut these as 2 separate pieces. I'm going to start with my the outside remaining piece, I guess. I don't know, the square ring. I don't know exactly what to call this piece. I'm going to line it up at 6 inches and cut. I probably could have cut the bottom there too, but I like to just work my way around and trim. Just getting these pieces all cut down into the quarters. And so you have 4 pieces. Now, when it's time to cut our jumbo circle in half, you need to pay attention to whether you have a pattern on either side. If you have like straight lines or something that does have a direction to it, you want to make sure when you cut it in half, you like how the different pieces are going to look, because we're going to actually cut it in half and then cut each piece in half again. I have a non-directional pattern, so it doesn't matter, but you might have a pattern, so pay attention to that. When we cut the jumbo circle, or really any circle, the trick to be able to get your circle centered is to come down to this bottom section here, and you're going to bring your circle until it rests right along, like right there and right there. That is centered. So now what you're wanting to do here is, if you do have a pattern, you're going to pay attention to where your cut line is. And you're going to make sure if you have stripes, are they going parallel to your cut line? Are they going perpendicular? That's really what you want to pay attention to. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. Now, the next cuts that we need to do, it's a little bit more challenging because I've never taken the time to exactly measure where is midpoint. The fastest way to find it is to just fold your circle in half and do a quick pinch. There's my middle. I'm going to line that pinch point up at the top here and cut. I'll do the same thing on the next piece. Just do a little pinch, line that up, and cut. So now I have my quarter circle, and I have my quarter, I call them corners. depending on your project, this circle may have been used for something else and you won't have this and you'll just have these corners. So that's something to keep in mind. I am showing you how to use everything, both pieces together, but you may have just this to work with from cutting a jumbo circle or another jumbo template where you're just working with the corners. So the next step here is I want to add that interest. I want to add the punch. So I use paw punch, the paw print BMC in my sample. For the demo, I'm going to be using stars. You want to use a knockout style. We do not want to alter the edge of our design. We want to make sure that ideally we're going to maintain the corner shape, the outside edge, and we're going to be punching in the middle or just punching the knockout pieces. So knockout styles are going to be something like star punch. The latest one we've got is cyclic circles. We've got zebra stripe, animal tracks, bubbles. There's been candy stripe. You could also use the tread. That's not what it's called. Tessa, what's what one called that came up with the
Tire tracks?
you know which one? Tire tracks? Is it what's it called? Tire tracks?
With revved up?
Yeah, it came out with revved up. Some sort of tire tracks. Okay, I don't know. It looks like tracks, tire tracks. So you're going to want to pick your knockout style BMC. You're going to need the paper holder and of course the cartridge holder. Things to note here. If you've never paid attention, you have a ruler here. That's 1 inch. Well, that's 11 inches, 10 inches, 8 inches. You can see there's a ruler. It starts down at the bottom and goes up here to the top. But really what I want you to pay attention to is this line right here is 1 inch from the top. Down here at the bottom, this line there is 1 inch from the bottom. So when I refer to 1 inch from the top or 1 inch from the bottom, your quick measurement is going to be this kind of thick black line that's from the where the plastic has been reinforced. I'm going to lay my punch in or my paper in here. I want to line up at that 1 inch spot. Grab my punch, and I'm going to punch in slot 2. I'm going to ignore slot 1, which is up here at the top. I'm going to come down here to slot 2. So there I'm in slot 2, and I'm going to punch. You can see it's punched the stars. The next, I will rotate this 90 degrees, come down to the bottom. You could flip it over. You just want to make sure you're punching the other side. And I'm going to punch here at slot 5, so 1 up from the bottom. And I've got both corners punched. Now I could save my pieces here. If I wanted to come in and add like maybe in the corner, I could, it just depends on what you're using to punch. Obviously when I did paw punch or the paw prints, it was like way too tiny of pieces to use, but something like this, you might want to save them. If you're using cyclic circles, it's really fun to save those circles and, use those as well. And we'll just keep working. Now you might be able to, if you want to be fast, you could probably do 2 at once. As long as you just make sure that everything gets lined up and you feel confident you can keep them lined up. I'm going to do them individually just because I do not want to worry about messing something up. And we'll just work through all 4 pieces. Yeah, I have a tendency, I try to keep my circles, when I cut the paper, I try to keep them. The challenge runs into the circles when you cut the middle out of the paper like that, that frame that you're left with is, I don't know, it's real easy to get it bent up and everything like that. So actually just being able to cut these into the corner segments, knowing that you have a way to use them later is, a great option. You also would be able to just keep them as if you want to use it for punched pieces. If you don't, even if you think you won't like cardstock bits, it really just depends on how small a scrap you like to keep. I know there's some people that are like, nope, I would just toss that. And for me, it really depends on what the paper is. Is it a tonal paper that I know I'm going to want to maybe punch something out of? I might keep it. Or is it a piece of cardstock that I don't have a lot of that color? I might keep it.
I just cut my corner triangles off and then throw away the ring.
Yeah, you could, but you're missing out on opportunities now. That's what you're
Well,
doing.
I
You
know
gotta
now.
keep,
Now I'll have to think of this layout.
now you're don't cut away your possibilities. Okay, so now we've got our pieces all set to go. And this is where you can actually dry fit some of your stuff together first to see how you like it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my one of my blue background pieces. And I need to think about, how do I want this? Do I want my black, let's see here, to be in the middle? And I said, I'm going to do this as 2 pages. So how am I going to do it as 2 pages? I'm basically going to alternate my squares. You can't really see my blue popping through here. I probably will use some of this lighter blue and come under it and pop that color off. If squares are still 6 by 6s. If I wanted them to go corner to corner and I don't want to have any kind of small border around them, I would leave them as 6 by 6. The way I did it for this single page is I wanted that little bit of that matting effect all the way around and that gap in the middle. So that's why I cut them down to the 5 3/4 inch square. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I will do it just because I like to have that little bit of a gap up in the corner. I think it just frames everything nicely. But right now, what I'm going for is I'm just trying to get a feel for how I like the pieces. And I'm pretty certain I'm going to do the white on the outside as compared to the white in the middle. So I think it's going to look something like this is what I'm going for. You can play around with it to figure out what you want. My other option is I could mix it up and do this. So hard to decide, especially since I don't have my photos. What I am going to do here, just to get a little bit more of a vibe, I think I'm going to cut some of this paper down. I am going to cut these down, these mats, to 4 1/4 inch squares. And then that will let me, I will be able to use the 3 1/4 or 3 3/4. 4 1/4 is about the biggest that you can get. I felt without compromising, or not really just taking up too much space. It's probably not the most efficient use of paper, that's for sure. But what it's going to let me do is just take a peek at, do I have a preference? I might just alternate them. I think I will. I think I'll have some of this just be like this. So I'm going to alternate them. So with that decision made, now I can start using tape chips to adhere the pieces together. So I need to make sure that I do 2 with, so like if I want it to look like this on the front, I'll flip it over and I will use my tape chip on the back to secure the pieces into place. The tape chips are just nice because they don't, you can leave the covering on them until you're ready to put them down. So everything's nice and secure together, but I don't have any sticky bits there. And of course, trying to paper weld that, I would have had to have cut like a circle to make that work, that was gonna be, I don't know. I could have done it. I could have cut a ring or something like that to paper weld, but that would have been just a lot of work and a waste of paper. We'll get these tape chipped together. We will cut them down to that smaller square. And that's if you want to. You don't have to. You can leave them as the 6x6. You might double check to make sure that everything's lined up nice and even. I wasn't too concerned because I am chopping off a 1/4 inch from each of these two sides. So I wasn't too concerned if these were flush with each other. If you're going to leave them as 6x6s, you will want to make sure that everything is nice and tight together. So making sure that I've got two this way. I need that one. So we'll flip this over and tape chip this way.
You could also use photo tape if people have that instead. Or washi tape that you think is ugly and will never use.
Yeah, you could use those too. Okay, so I've got these. Now it's time to go ahead and trim these down to size. I'm going to use my photo trimmer to do that. And what I'm doing is I am going to cut this corner or this side and this side. I'm staying away from the side that is the sides that are punched. And I'm going to cut this down to 5 3/4. And that'll definitely make sure I have nice clean edges where those pieces meet. Couple more cuts. A very big collection of washi tape. I used to have a really big collection and I found I wasn't using it. So I donated it to the kids' high school. But that was, not any of the creative memory stuff. And the creative memories washi that we have, I feel very much like, well, I might use it. I mean, I like it. I think they're cute patterns. I just don't know, have an immediate use for it. So I just have it tucked away. I'll use it later. Okay, so we've got the pieces here that we need. And now let me go ahead and grab the paper here. I think I gave myself a paper cut on my knuckle. And it's not being very cooperative.
Recording in progress.
I think we're still good. I don't know what happened there.
I cut my finger the other day on simply scrapping, couldn't find a Band-Aid.
Well, yeah, I'd have to get up and go grab a Band-Aid if I wanted to take care of this. So I'll work just one-handed a little bit while I've got this
That was
under
me. I was like
pressure.
sucking on it. I finally had to just stop and go get one because it wouldn't stop bleeding. Now I have two on my desk. Would you like one?
Yes, I would. I would love, and now I see, and that makes sense why I should have Band-Aids there available. So these would be Coming in with the corners. So I have that scrap bit here of this. I think what I'll do is I will cut this down. I need some like 1 by 2 inch segments. Yeah, why is it like it's like hardly anything and it's still wanting to just keep bleeding? It's to be 4 inches. No, it's 4 1/4. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna be just over, I'm gonna cut it in half and then cut it into some 1 inch segments. And that will give me my the pieces that I need for my I need the pieces to fill in behind the stars. So I will do that. That's not gonna be big enough.
Maybe precision point glue would do it like they used to use super glue in the wars.
Yeah. I feel like I need some. My gosh. I should put it on mute and go yell at Cody to go get me a Band-Aid.
Someone said
He
wrap it in
would.
washi tape.
I don't have any washi tape. I have nothing. I could put a tape chip over it. Maybe that would stop it. Let me see. Now I'm looking. There it is. My repo adhesive. Of course, it's like, why does it have to be my right hand? Why can't it be my left hand, which I can basically function without? Well, sort of. All right, so there we've got some of the blue popping in there with those stars. It'll be more apparent on the this black paper. So then we come in here as such. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about here, the one part I like about doing this particular layout here this way is because I have some 6-inch spaces here that gives me the flexibility if I need to bring in not square photos. So in my mind, what I'm going to be able to do is imagine this is, I could come in and put in a vertical photo here. I'll just put these as flip them over. They're just extra photos that didn't make it into layouts. I could come in as such. I could maybe cut these down a little bit and I could actually come in and I could punch with my punch here. I could punch 3. I've got 6 inches here. I could punch with my knockout style BMC along that edge and work in additional decor. If you wanted to come in with a border, a strip of paper, a title, journaling, however you wanted to include the additional stuff here. So that's kind of where this is headed. I just don't know whether or not, and yes, there's a comment that I could come in with the stars that I've punched. So the challenge I have is since I don't have my photos printed, I don't know if I need a horizontal versus a vertical. I am pretty certain most of the photos I took are horizontal. So I would come in and do probably punch along this edge and be able to get the those in there. So I need to go ahead and print out the photos. And that way I can come back and get everything all taken care of. I took a bunch of pictures. We've had 2 lacrosse. Cody's had 4 games so far. We've had 2 weekends. They do 2 games per Saturday. And so I do have lots of photos and I have to decide, is this going to be, how many different lacrosse events am I going to sit there and have? How many games, this might be one per season. I struggle with that a little bit as a sports parent where you're just trying to be, like, how many baseball games do I need to photograph? How many lacrosse games do I need to photograph? I mean, I take photos at them. I'm not very good about taking them all the time. I have a tendency to just sit and enjoy. And of course, those are the big moments that I miss photographing because that's what, he's doing it. But I can photograph all of them, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to scrapbook all of them because I'm hoping we have many, many years in front of us of these sports and, sometimes they look all the same, just different opponents. It's still my kid. And the downside is, I don't know, for those of you that have your kids that wear helmets, like football parents, hockey parents, you can't tell. You thank goodness for jerseys, because that's the only way I can tell who my kid is. I mean, granted, he's the tallest on the team. He's the tallest usually on the field. He's kind of big. So yeah, it's fun. All right, so that's what I've got for you guys. Tessa's had hers. Hope we got you hopefully inspired to create some fun layouts. Be sure to use the hashtag that's at the top of your handout. It's February 2025 PH. I had to look at it. We do not have March's date selected yet. I have a feeling though, it's probably going to be this. You think it's going to be the second Tuesday? You get crazy in April. That will make it interesting too. We've got Tess and I no longer have the same spring break. My spring break is in March, hers is in April, so we can't coordinate. She can't come cat sit for me. That's not very much fun anymore. So we'll have that. We'll have the power hour, then it's probably second Tuesday in March. We'll get all that figured out and get that on the calendar. And we're wrapping up the winter frolic. It's been delightful. We have a couple more weeks of that left. I told you it's the fastest way to get through winter. It's just been a rough winter for many of you. And then National Scrapbook Day is coming up. We will have our free project workshop. That is where we put together the project recipe kit. We also put together all of the layouts that are part of the project booklet that comes with the customer bundle from Creative Memories. More details will be coming on with that. The products, you'll be able to start ordering National Scrapbook Day products on February 24th. So in just under 2 weeks, there will be a free shipping promotion from Creative Memories. So it's a great way to get those products. And then our class will come later in March. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to order it and have those deliveries made to you before we have that workshop with you guys. And it will be free. You just have to sign up. You'll get the email. The big thing with that one is the booklet is included in the customer bundle. And so we're not able to send out handouts. So you'll want to make sure you get the customer bundle that includes the project booklet with your all of your products. All right, I think that's everything I have. Anything else, Tessa, that you can think of that I'm forgetting? Virtual crop is coming up. Secret box will be opened on whatever day, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, Friday. It'll be fun. So we're looking forward to continuing to crop with you as we work our way through winter. I'm going to start crying as it gets hotter, as you guys all get excited that it's warming up. I'm over here like, no, I don't want 100 degrees yet. All right. Yes, free shipping starts on the 24th of February. Deborah is asking, so Tessa announced that she's having an advisor only retreat in September. Is there a deadline for that?
So it fills up.
Yeah. So,
And the
yeah, you
customer
can
one
reach
is
out.
the weekend after.
Yeah, she says she has an advisor only retreat the weekend after Labor Day. And then the following weekend after that, I don't know the specific dates, she has a customer retreat. I'm staying for the whole time. So if you are a customer and you want to join us in September, you can come to the customer retreat. It'll be lots of fun. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I see somebody shared that they labeled their border maker system. I like that. I talked about that before, putting numbers to mark your slots. Then you'll know what I'm talking about when I say you're going to punch in slot 6 or 5, 4, whatever it may be. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you all next month.